In the little village of Isoko, there lived many people who worshipped a powerful river goddess. They believed this goddess could protect them and bring them good luck. But they didn't know about God, who is the one true God. In Isoko, there were only a few Christians, but they were often mistreated because most people didn't believe in their God. The villagers even had shrines in their homes for the river goddess, where they would pray and offer sacrifices. Every year, the river goddess demanded a soul as a sacrifice. It was a scary time for the villagers, but they thought they had to do it to keep the goddess happy. But God didn't forget about the people of Isoko. He sent messages to them, asking them to turn away from their bad ways and follow Him. However, the villagers ignored these messages and continued doing what they always did. One day, a woman named Mrs. Arabi went to her farm to harvest yams. She had so many yams that she couldn't carry them all back home. So, she decided to leave some yams behind and come back the next day to get them. The next day, when Mrs. Arabi returned to her farm, it was raining heavily. As she approached the stack of yams, she noticed something strange. There, sitting on top of the yams, was a giant book. It was a Bible, but Mrs. Arabi had never seen one before. Even though everything around it was wet from the rain, the Bible was completely dry. Mrs. Arabi was scared and ran back to the village to tell everyone what she had seen. When the villagers arrived at the farm, they were amazed to see the giant Bible. They had never seen anything like it before. They tried to pick it up, but it was too heavy for them to carry. They realized that this must be a message from God. From that day on, the giant Bible became a monument for the people of Isoko. Every day, a page would turn by itself, and the villagers would read the words written inside. As they read the Bible, they began to understand who God truly was. They realized that they had been worshipping the wrong God all along. They felt sorry for what they had done and decided to change their ways. They burned down their shrines and stopped worshipping the river goddess. Instead, they started worshipping the one true God. They prayed to Him and asked for forgiveness for their past mistakes. And so, the people of Isoko began a new chapter in their lives. They turned away from their old ways and followed God with all their hearts. From that day on, they lived in peace and harmony, knowing that God was always watching over them. After the people of Isoko turned to God and stopped worshipping the river goddess, they lived happily for a while. But as time passed, they started to forget about their promise to God. They became selfish and greedy again, and soon, they went back to worshipping the river goddess. God was very disappointed in them. He had given them a second chance, but they had turned away from Him once more. So, He decided to send a sign to show them that they had made a big mistake. One day, as the villagers were working in their fields, they noticed something strange. A swarm of grasshoppers descended upon their crops and started eating everything in sight. No matter what the villagers did, they couldn't get rid of the grasshoppers. The people of Isoko were very worried. They didn't understand where the grasshoppers had come from or why they were destroying their crops. They asked the river goddess for help, but she remained silent. She couldn't help them because she wasn't the true God. Meanwhile, a young child named Kola went to the farm to gather firewood. As he was walking through the fields, he remembered the giant Bible that the villagers had found before. He decided to stop by and take a look at it. When Kola went to the Bible, he saw something amazing. The page he landed on was talking about the sins of the village and how they had turned away from God again. Kola was shocked and scared. He knew that the grasshoppers were a punishment from God for their disobedience. Kola ran back to the village as fast as he could and told everyone what he had seen. When the villagers heard his words, they were filled with fear and regret. They realized that they had made a terrible mistake by worshipping the river goddess again. Together, the villagers gathered around the giant Bible and read the words written inside. They begged God for forgiveness and promised to never worship the river goddess again. And just like before, God heard their prayers and forgave them. The grasshoppers disappeared, and the crops started to grow again. The people of Isoko were filled with gratitude and joy. They knew that God had saved them once again. From that day on, the villagers kept their promise to God. They worshipped Him with all their hearts and followed His commandments. They understood that God's love is unconditional, but He also expects us to be faithful and obedient. The moral of the story is that we should always remember to stay true to our faith and never forget about God's love and mercy. When we stray from the right path, God may send us signs to show us the error of our ways. But if we repent and turn back to Him, He will always forgive us and welcome us with open arms. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.